So I am going live today. So excited to talk to you all about an unexpected destination that was not on my radar that I got to travel to last month and how it kind of opened my eyes. And I wanted to share a little bit about how it kind of changed my thinking and my business and give you all hopefully some ideas for some future travels for yourself. So, this new destination that really did blow me away. I'm going to talk about expectations with travel in this little session and how maybe setting certain kinds of expectations or not having certain kind of expectations can really transform your travel experience. And then I'm also going to touch on just some different destinations as well beyond the one that impacted me. So if you guys have any questions at all while I'm doing this video, of course, you can drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to look at those at the end and answer them. So just drop them there. That's awesome. So let's get started with the destination. So last month, I had the opportunity to actually travel to Jamaica for President's Club retreat that I had with one of my tour operators that I love. And, we have the choice between different President's Club retreats whenever we sell a certain amount with this company. And I had a few different options and I was like, I have never personally been to Jamaica. So I think that's what I'm going to choose. I don't really sell Jamaica that often. It was my least sold major Caribbean destination. You kind of have some minor Caribbean islands that are a little smaller that maybe people don't go to, but Jamaica just was one of the major ones that I really did not sell. And honestly, I don't know why. Like I didn't really have a reason for why I wasn't selling it. Sometimes I think people, advisors and just consumers can be turned off by destinations for a different amount of reasons. Sometimes people can be turned off to destinations because they've heard their friend go and they thought, oh, I didn't like it, or it just was something that they've heard over and over, or maybe they don't think it's going to be a good fit for them. But to be honest, I feel like I hear this a lot from clients. I'll get on a call with them and they'll say something like, oh, Jamaica, yeah, I don't want to go there. My friend went and they didn't like it. And then I start digging a little bit more and come to find out that friend was on a cruise ship and they stopped in for a very short amount of time, did a very touristy experience, and then left up out of there and really didn't get to experience the destination. So sometimes you have to take other people's opinions with that context into consideration, because honestly, maybe they just did the destination wrong. They didn't stay in the right place. They didn't give it enough time. They were doing super touristy things. And sometimes too, people have different expectations, or just because it was not your friend's favorite vacation doesn't mean it won't be yours. Everybody has different expectations and experiences of what they think will make a good vacation. So don't put 100% stock in what other people think. A lot of times I will work with clients and, they'll come to me and kind of have anywhere but X destination. And it's because a friend said one time that they didn't have a good experience there. So it happens with advisors too. Some of us, we get turned off to a certain destinations for different reasons. So I really didn't have a reason for why I wasn't selling Jamaica, but after having experienced it and going into the experience really with no expectations, the clients that I had sent there had all really loved the destination for a variety of reasons. But I didn't have a ton of expectations going in. And I knew that I needed to see this destination for myself to understand it better and to be able to better serve my clients. So the things that I absolutely loved about Jamaica was the beautiful beaches. I was really blown away. Even just, we were doing a lot of site inspections and having to drive from one end of the island to the other. I was blown away. We were driving along the coast the whole time. The water was so beautiful. It was that beautiful blue, lots of different turquoises. The resort that we stayed at, it was one of the best beaches that I've ever been at. We were sitting in our Bali bed kind of chairs and drinking our, margaritas and thinking, okay, this is pretty much perfect. The water is perfect. It's not too hot. The sand is perfect, powder white. Like I was just really blown away by how beautiful the beaches were. I was not expecting that. And again, I think that just comes down to making sure that you're staying in the right destination. A stretch of beach in a country can look so different, even just a few miles down the road. I also really loved how outgoing and friendly the staff were. So this was a big change for me. I go to Mexico quite often, and I love the service that you get in Mexico. They're very hardworking as a culture. Jamaica's a little bit different. They're super outgoing. They're very friendly. I felt like I was literally best friends with people. We would have some of the entertainment staff come and sit down with us and just have conversations with us and talk with us. And that was really fun. We got to know them. I became like BFFs with one of the swim up bar bartenders, Travis. We became best friends. He's just so fun. And it's like we became friends with everyone by the end of the few days that we were there. So the service, I was just so impressed with how friendly and outgoing the staff were. And we really seem to see that at other resorts too. So I really do feel like it's a part of the culture and not just the particular resort that we were staying at. And then the food was so good. So it kind of went beyond just your typical resort food. Like we actually got to go to Dunn's River, which I'm going to get to in a second too, but we got to go there for an experience. And honestly, I think the best thing I had was like this beef patty. I can't even explain it, you guys, but it was like street food and it was so good. And all the food that we had was amazing. It has so much flavor. So anytime people are like, oh my gosh, all-inclusive food is boring or whatever, they're just not going to the right resorts. Because I'm a foodie and we had just some amazing food, Jamaican food. And then also just our resort had some awesome options. Diverse offerings at the different restaurants. And then we got to experience Dunn's River, which honestly I had zero expectation for. And I'm somewhat adventurous. I do like hiking. I do like adventure to an extent. Julie, who was the advisor that was with me, she definitely did not know what we were signing up for either. But we were really brave that day, and I'm so proud of us. We hiked up Dunn's River, and it's a hike. It is through a waterfall. I did not really realize that. I guess I should have watched some YouTube videos before we left. I did not. So that Dunn's River experience was so amazing, though. I truly do recommend that if you were going to go to Jamaica and you do like adventure, you do like kind of maybe going outside of your comfort zone and being outdoors. Gosh, it was one of my favorite experiences travel-wise that I've done. So beautiful, so unique. So I think that really made our Jamaica experience awesome, was leaving the resort property and going and seeing a little bit of the local culture as well. So, my experience in Jamaica, even though it's like one of those tried and true destinations for a lot of people, I had kind of written it off a little bit for really no reason. And I think opening myself up to the destination and realizing, for my business, that's super important to keep an open mind. I'm not going to box myself in. I'm not going to box my clients in to certain parameters when we're looking for vacation destinations. So it really changed the way that I think about my business, that I need to have an open mind when it comes to destinations and not just write off a whole destination. And then also it changed my business too, because it really made me be a little bit more bold in suggesting different destinations to people that maybe they aren't used to, or maybe they haven't thought about. And, that's kind of encouraged me to be like, I do know these places. I have experienced them, and I know that this is a good fit for them. So just kind of thinking outside of the box a little bit with destinations. I don't know, Jamaica just kind of inspired me a little bit with that. So if you have any questions about Jamaica or think that might be a good fit for you and your spouse or a loved one or your family even, I'm like dying to go back to one of the family resorts that we saw. Just definitely reach out. It was a fabulous time. So kind of leading into, the next kind of phase to this, just beyond Jamaica and how this experience could kind of extend into other things. Just keeping an open mind and making sure that my clients are keeping an open mind. So I have a few, just stories of things to think about here. with specific clients that I've worked with. So one typical story that tends to happen over and over again, I have a lot of clients come to me and they want to do an all-inclusive. They start explaining what they want to do, and my wheels are turning, and I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of all these great resorts. It's going to match up what they want. And then they say, yeah, we want to go anywhere but Mexico. And all the resorts that were perfect fits for them are in Mexico. And people will have a variety of reasons for why they think they don't want to travel there. But then I have had so many success stories of then suggesting those resorts anyways. I tell people, keep an open mind. I'm going to show you other destinations as well, but just let me show you a couple properties that literally match what you're looking for perfectly that are in Mexico. Just trust me. And I've had several families actually say anywhere but Mexico, and they ended up booking Mexico and going and loving it. So just keep an open mind. It's happened several times. So if ever you come to me and say that, just be ready for me to push back if I think that really is the destination that's best for you. And just keep an open mind. And then another fun thing that's happened recently, I've actually had 2 consult calls today, and it's happened on both of them. So I think it's just so funny, the timing of this, is these kind of completely open-minded clients. So I've had 2 conversations today with clients who were like, here's kind of the vague notion of what we're looking for in the experience. They've been open about travel time, so they don't mind longer travel days. And they're like, where would you go? If you had this opportunity, what would you do? Where would you go? And that's been really fun because now I'm focusing in on the experiences that they're looking for, the budget that they have, and we're not worried about locking into a specific destination and trying to fit that in and make it work. And instead, we're being really open-minded. So it was really fun today. Actually, there was a client who's looking for an anniversary trip, and they don't mind to travel far. So we're like looking, at Thailand and Bali, and then we're also looking at Portugal and Greece. So that makes it really interesting. If you will keep an open mind, and be ready to maybe travel a little further than you have before, then maybe what you're looking for is kind of just beyond what you've done in the past. So, yeah, I love those kind of clients. So even if you're not sure of destination, I kind of like that. I like the challenge. And then sometimes, my clients will come to me and they think they have an idea of the destination, and then we end up shifting gears. So recently, I've had a couple calls with clients who have come to me. I had one honeymoon client come to me, and they were like pretty sure they wanted to do an African safari. And we started kind of digging into that a little bit more and talking about the possibilities and the budget and the experience. And quickly, we kind of started to back up and realize maybe an African safari isn't the direction that we need to go. So we started to kind of pivot a little bit, and we ended up looking at a few different options. We looked at an experience in Thailand, an experience in southern France, and then an experience in Greece. So really, really different from African safaris, but those destinations were matching a little bit more with what the honeymoon expectation was. And then as we dug even a little bit deeper and narrowed down, we were able to land on a Greek island experience. So, sometimes you start with one thing in mind, but if you're open-minded, we can kind of shift gears and actually get to the root of what you're looking for. And then another client I worked with earlier in the year, they're traveling this summer. They thought, oh yeah, we want to go to Italy. And they started digging into why they wanted to go to Italy. And obviously I love Italy. It's like my best-selling destination. And I never want to deter anyone from going there. However, as I listened to this family and what they were looking for, it just really felt like Italy was not going to hit those expectations. And so I threw out a destination they had not thought about before, which was Portugal. But it was hitting on all the things they were looking for. And I just so appreciated their open-mindedness. And that's what we ended up booking. And it was so fun to be able to introduce them to a new destination they hadn't thought about, but was going to hit all those must-haves of the experience. So, open-mindedness can look different for different clients, but I always love trying to help clients really nail down what's going to work for their experience that they're envisioning, as well as their budget. And sometimes that means shifting gears on destination. So, um, and then just in like a broader sense, obviously there's so many other benefits with being open-minded with travel. I think one of my favorite parts of my job is, and this is how I first got started in this business, is exposing students to travel. I tell a lot of people that story. When I very first started in the travel business, I was working with a student tour operator and selling travel to students and taking them abroad. And it really hits at some of my favorite reasons why I love this job is exposing people to new experiences, having them have these unexpected joys abroad and international experiences that they never thought they could have. Discovering that you find out you like something that you didn't even know existed. That's always the best. And just kind of taking it all in as you go. You're going to a new place and you didn't even know existed, and you're listening to locals and you're exploring, and there's just something special about that with travel that you just can't do with anything else. Like, you just sometimes have to have these wake up calls on other sides of the world. And I've had a couple personal experiences with this too. I know Josh and I, a few years ago, we had an opportunity to go to Amsterdam, and both of us, we were just like, I don't know, like Amsterdam, we had some preconceived notions and some things that we thought about it that we just didn't think we were going to like it. And we arrived with, like, honestly, again, no expectations, and these preconceived notions of maybe a negative experience. Oh my goodness, could not be further from the truth. Amsterdam absolutely blew us away. It's one of my favorite destinations, one of my favorite cities to explore. So that was one of them that, like, I just don't think that you can take into consideration what you hear. You really do just have to experience a place to understand what it's like. And then Costa Rica, like, I went to Costa Rica last year with our agency, and I am outdoorsy to an extent. I'll go on a hike. I'm never going to go camping outdoors or anything like that. So I'm outdoorsy to an extent. Like, that's usually not my jam. But there were some things on this itinerary, because we were doing this as a educational trip for clients, that I would have personally never signed up to do. And I did them, and I'm so grateful that I did them. And there were things that I did that were very scary or very out of my comfort zone. And I'm extremely thankful for the opportunity to have gotten to do that. So sometimes I think it's important to maybe throw some challenging things into your itinerary that you wouldn't normally have done. Like, hunting tapirs in Costa Rica was, like, not on my bucket list, but I've done it and it was really amazing experience. Or, hiking and seeing all these crazy spiders and snakes and all of that. Like, that's a little bit past my comfort zone, but I'm so grateful that I got to do that experience. So, you have these preconceived notions, and I think just trying to fight against that is super important. And like I was saying too, a lot of the best experiences in travel are the unexpected ones. And those are the ones that, as your travel advisor, I can't plan for. I can buy the tickets and I can arrange the tours and all of that. But sometimes the best part of the journey are the things that are unexpected, as like hokey as that sounds. But I do try to set you up for success in that. So we, are working with local DMCs, local tour operators that are boots on the ground in that destination, that can be the one to, suggest the great restaurant to go to, or the great experience that's just off the beaten path here. So I try to set you up for success in that, whether it be a local private guide or partnering with a local DMC that really knows the destination just super intimately. So I try to set you up for those unexpected joys throughout your trip. I can't always be the one to handcraft them, but I can at least partner with the people who can. So be open-minded on your trip. The best thing on your trip might be something that was unplanned and not even on the itinerary. So just kind of to end this conversation about, open-mindedness um, in regards to travel, just a few destinations for 2025 and beyond 2026. We're already planning for 26, which is kind of crazy. But some places that kind of keep coming up in conversations with my clients that I would maybe just think about. First of all, would be Egypt. Egypt right now is one of the best destinations to go to as far as flight prices. You can get amazing pricing there. It's such a fabulous destination. It's luxurious, it's historical, it's exotic. So that would be one that I would highly recommend that might be off the radar for you that you weren't really thinking about. Croatia and Portugal, both kind of in that European front, are, ones that I keep going back to and suggesting to people. Like they'll come to me and say, I've done Italy, I've done Spain, what's next? And I feel like Croatia and Portugal are kind of those next countries that you really need to take into consideration. I've sent clients to, Italy, and then the next summer they went to Croatia, or the next summer they went to Portugal, and it just really, hit the things they loved about Italy or Spain and expanded their horizons even more. So it's very interesting how I feel like those two European destinations are coming up again and again in conversations with people, especially if you're looking for those coastal areas, something romantic, that food and wine experience, outdoorsy adventure. It kind of, both those destinations kind of are covering all those. And then if you're looking for something in the Caribbean that maybe you haven't done before, maybe you've done Mexico, you've done Jamaica, you've done the Dominican, now you're ready to kind of hit some other islands. I think a couple that are just off the beaten path a little bit, they're still pretty common, but maybe for people who haven't done a ton of traveling, I think St. Vincent is a really nice option, Curacao, as well as Aruba and Antigua. So if you're thinking about doing the Caribbean, but you don't want to do Mexico or the DR or Cabo again, these would be some nice islands to hit up. So yeah, hopefully I just kind of had you think about a few things, open up your mind a little bit about some destinations. And, I would love for you to schedule a consult call with me and we can discuss. I know a lot of people, when they get on the call with me, they say something like, oh my gosh, we've never worked with a travel agent before. I don't really know how this works. That's totally fine. Like I literally hear that 9 out of 10 calls. So that's okay if that's you too. But it's okay. Like you really don't have to come to the table with a lot. I would just rather hear about you, what you are envisioning, what you love about vacations, what you love about travel, and then we can go from there. Don't feel like you have to have all this knowledge about geography or destinations. Keep an open mind, and that's gonna let that conversation run its course, and I'll be the one to ask the questions and do the research for you, so you don't have to. So yeah, that's my chat today, and I hope that you all will reach out if you have any future travel needs. Planning a lot for the fall right now, Christmas, and even for 2026. So yeah, thanks guys. Bye.